Well, hello and welcome to Little Known Seeds from Palestine. I'm Michael Washburn. I'm the Preservation Director at Seed Savers Exchange, and I'll be your host for this session. Um, I'd like to give a special thanks to Humanities Iowa for sponsoring this session. So we're here today with Adel Takruri. Now, Adel is a Palestinian native. Dr. Adel Takruri, he studied health, nutrition, plants, gardening, and environmental health, and has a passion for gardening and preservation seeds and plants. 10 years ago, upon returning to Palestine after living on the east coast of the US, Dr. Takruri noticed that there are some seeds and plants used in Palestine that are not known in the US and are used in culturally different ways in the two places. Now, he believes that introducing these seeds of Palestinian uses is of interest to people outside of Palestine and can increase the world's knowledge of their seeds, plants, and food diversity. Now today, Adel will show seeds and plants that are traditionally used in Palestine and in the Middle East, but are not widely known in the West. Some examples are the black-seeded cumin, maybe Nigella sativa, and sumac, arum, chicory, and mallow. In this presentation, you'll be introduced to Palestinian seeds and plants, learn their health benefits, and hear their traditional Palestinian preparations and uses. Adel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for introducing me, and welcome everybody. So as Jack said, that the title of my presentation is Common Greens and Seeds in Palestine. Okay, first I would like to talk about to show you something about the region. So the first slide, please. The next slide. So the region is on the eastern side of the Mediterranean Sea, which is around like Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and Israel. And I live, and the plants I'm talking about are in the West Bank region, but they are also common in other countries in this area. Next slide, please. So this is a wider a zoom out picture, which shows you like more how the Mediterranean Sea is situated within these regions. Next slide. So yeah, this slide shows you that the Mediterranean region is a common all around the world. So like geographically and in terms of climate, the Mediterranean region, it's called the Mediterranean climate is not just around the Mediterranean Sea. So on the western side of each continent, Asia, Africa, Australia, America, Latin America, all the coasts which lie on the western side, they share a common climate, which is characterized by dry summers and wet, rainy winters, long dry summers and wet winters. And for example, California on the western side of the United States, Chile on the western side of Latin America, and South Africa also on the western side of the African continent, and the same with Australia. So all these, the western Australian coasts. So we all have this, share this common climate in which the common plants can thrive and grow. Specific plants can grow, other plants cannot grow. So I would like to show you some of the plants which characterize this region. The first next slide will show you a very common plant. It's called the mallow or Malva plant. In Arabic, it's called khubeza or bread plant. So it's a very greenish, and it grows very wild. You can grow it as well, but it's mostly in mountains, and it's very tolerant to dry weather. And so maybe you know about this plant, but I would like also to show you how it is prepared. So the next slide will show you. In the next slide, I'll show you. So the way we do prepare this plant, we cut it and then we saute this plant with garlic or onion and oil. And after, like, it takes like 10 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes, and it becomes, it withers and it becomes easy to, it becomes edible, and it's very delicious. We can also prepare it in a soup-like manner with oil, or with, we can also mix it with rice or with burgol or frike. And so the next slide will show you the benefits of this plant. So as you can see, it has antioxidant. I added my scientific peer-reviewed journal articles which prove that this plant has anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. So it's a very good alternative for those who are avoiding starch, bread, and or meats, and it's very filling. So you just have it on breakfast, you'll be satisfied until maybe dinner or lunch. So next slide, please. Okay, so the dandelion is very common everywhere. I think everybody knows the dandelion leaves, but the way we prepare, probably you don't know how we prepare it in this region. So the malva, the mallow leaves, they are like tangy, tasty. They don't have a specific taste, but so it's very simple. You just saute it with oil. The dandelion is very bitter. So the people here, the locals here, what they do is they boil it in water, and then they boil it in water. Then they squeeze the water out to get rid of the bitterness, and then after that they will add oil and lemon juice, and it will become very delicious and like lightly bitter, but it's tolerably bitter. So this is the dandelion salad, and I attached to this presentation a recipe PDF file, so that so anyone who's interested can go back to this PDF file and see how we prepare this recipe. Next slide. Okay, so this is a seed. It's not a leaf. It's called black seed or Nigella seed. This is very common in our region. I haven't seen it used often in the West or the United States, but I think it's used in India and maybe in the Indian subcontinent as well. So this is a very dark black small seeds, and it's very bitter. So the way and it's very healthy. So in order to overcome the bitter taste, you need to add a sweetener, whether it's sugar or honey or any sweetener, because it's very bitter. But once you add a sweetener, it becomes a very tasty seed. And as you can see, we can make it with grounded flour in a form of cakes or sweets. So the next slide, please. So coffee is bitter, but if you add it with sugar, then the bitterness will be enhanced. It's not really a big problem. So another way that's not done in houses, in factories, they grind it very well and they make a seed out of it. So and an oil also. And these oils and seeds, they are very good for the skin and for the hair. Next slide, please. So yes, here you can see a list of also well-documented benefits and health benefits of this plant, which contains lots of phytochemicals and antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. Next slide, please. Okay, so you see it's very in India and in West Asia, sorry, East Asian countries, I think it's used for as a hair smoothener, and it's make the hair shiny and strengthens the hair. Okay, next slide. Okay, there are more benefits for this plant. You can read lots of benefits with references. Next slide. Okay, here I would like to show some a link for how it's prepared, just to show you some segments of YouTube video which can show you which can demonstrate how it is prepared. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, here is the video. I would like to show it. Okay, so this is
عندنا بكل بيت إلها فوائد كثير كبيرة.
So this is in Arabic, but it's subtitle. So what the woman is describing, you can see here. She's adding the flour or semolina, and then after that she adds the olive oil, and then she mixes them, and then here you can see how she's adding the paste, which is a nigella seed paste, and with mix with water, mixing everything together, then putting it in the oven, and finally you get a very delicious sweet cake out of this black seed. So stop sharing and we'll go back to the slides. So that's a recipe. I didn't write a recipe on the PDF file I prepared because this is difficult to describe, but I wrote other simpler recipes. Next slide. Okay, so this is also another seed, but it's very reddish, and it's very reddish and it's very sour. So the previous one was bitter. This is extremely sour, like lemon. Or so this is called a sumac, and it's a tree, and they pick up the seeds. And next slide will show you how we use it. So okay, no, next slide. This is not it can be mixed up with a poisonous tree, so people who collect this seed have to be careful. Next slide. Okay, so this shows you how we can sprinkle this. We can like grind it, and then we can sprinkle it on meats and chickens and maybe breads and onions. So we first mix it, sprinkle it with on onions, and then we add the onion into the meat and bread. So this is one recipe as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is arum. Arum is I heard it's a poisonous plant. So this is just FYI for your interest, just to know that some people do prepare this. It needs a special way of preparing. So I haven't included neither a video nor a written recipe, because just for your information, some people, they do know how to prepare it to get rid of the poison. And in the end, next slide will show you how the end result. It formed a very delicious recipe. Next slide. Because some people, they prepare it like this, and it has a very like a nut. It's a sting. It's as if you are eating some nettle. So it really prickles your tongue, but that's only if you know someone who can know how to prepare it, not for you to try. Next slide. Okay, Gundelia. The Gundelia is, as I said, we are living in a dry, a very dry summer, where we like for 3 or 4 months we don't have rain. So characteristics of our region is thorny plants, and this is a very thorny and spiky plant. So they pick up. The problem with this plant is they have to get rid of the spikes, but it has very good medicinal properties. Next slide will show you how we prepare it. After we get rid of the after it's a very painful process and very deliberate and time consuming to get into the meat of this plant, and then they cook it with oil. Next slide. Or with yogurt, and it is very beneficial. Lots of studies has shown that it has a laxative and anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer properties. Next slide. Okay, it's like a good alternative for meat. If somebody is trying to reduce the meat or content, this is a very good alternative. It tastes really like beef or something. Next slide will show you some links on how they prepare it. So I would like to show you a short segment of the videos. One of the videos here I linked to. Okay, if I can share the screen just to show you how it is prepared. Here is the window. Okay, share. And then, okay, here. Oh, sorry. Okay, as you can see here.
Today is Akub in the Clouds Day. Akub is a wild edible plant found in the mountains of Lebanon and other mountainous regions of the Middle East.
أنا وصغير كانوا أهلي يطلعوا على الجبل. اليوم نحن نركض وراها على راس الجبل مثل ما.
So as you can see, they are collecting it from the mountains, and then they take it home, and the ladies then they spend lots of time removing the thorns, and after they remove the thorns, then they cook it with oil, and then it's edible. It's really very delicious. So this is the Akub plant or Gundelia. So let's go back to the slides. Okay, stop sharing. Okay, next slide will show you another. Okay, the hedge mustard, I think it's well known also in the West. It's like an onion, garlic type of leaves, and it's very delicious and very spicy. The next slide will show you how we prepared it. We add yogurt, we add salt to remove some excess water from it, and then we add yogurt to it. And I added this recipe in the PDF file which I prepared. You can check how we prepare the hedge mustard. We call it hindba here. Next slide. Okay, you can get, I have also links to these videos. If somebody is interested, can go to these videos. They are subtitled in English. Next slide. Okay, the last leaf I'd like to talk about is the thyme or za'atar. Okay, and the problem here is that when you say thyme, there are different varieties and types of thyme. So this picture shows because I've seen like in the United States what they call thyme. It's more spiky, but I honestly don't know the exact name of this variety or if it's available in the United States or the West, but it has a broader leaves than it has broad leaves. And okay, so the next slide I'm going to show you how we prepare it. So the way we prepare this leaf, the thyme leaves, is okay. You know, in the United States that it's dried and then it's used as a spice. It's dried and then it's grounded and it's used as a spice on food. But the fresh leaves, what's interesting here is that the fresh leaves themselves, before drying, can be used in a salad. So, and I also added the recipe on how to prepare the salad. You just cut it, then you can add anything. You can add like avocado, tomatoes, onions, garlic, and then olive leaves, and of course, it's important to add lemon juice and salt, and it becomes a very delicious and filling and healthy salad. It's called the za'atar leaf salad. Next slide. Okay, the benefits of the thyme, as you can see, this type of thyme is more spiky, and it cannot really be used in a salad that we use here. It's a different type of thyme. Next slide. Okay, I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to go through this slide very fast. there is something called turmos or lupine. This is not a recipe. We just soak it and then we boil it and then we eat it like. Next slide will show you. It's like we eat it. We have to eat it one by one because the crust, we have to eat the bulb inside the crust. It's okay. Next slide. Okay, and lupine, actually lupine leaf has beans have a specific nutritional properties which are better than lentils and chickpeas. Here you can see it has more protein and less calories. Next slide. Okay, borage leaves, very fast. It's a broad type of leaves. We boil them and then we stuff them with rice and meat. And the next slide will show you how we use the borage leaves. In the next slide, you see it's like vine. We have vine leaf and borage leaf in Palestine. We are like it's very common to stuff the leaves, to stuff rice and burgol in leaves. So this is how the end product will become. Next slide. Okay, mulberry. This is something I remember when I was in the east coast of the United States. It was all over the place. Nobody was eating it. I was so surprised that they didn't know that it's edible. So I was offering people. Nobody wanted to get near to it. Then I said, okay, if you don't want to eat it, I'll eat it. It's not a problem. But it's very surprising that it's known and it grows everywhere, but not everybody knows that it's edible. Next slide. Okay, I'm not going to go in details, but the fool or broad beans is also very common. Maybe everybody knows falafel, and fool, but we can eat the fresh leaves, fresh plant as well. Next slide will also show you the fenugreek. Next slide will show you also other types of greens and vegetable. Next slide, the quince, and also cowpeas, Egyptian spinach, but I don't have time to go through all these plants in detail. So yeah, that's the end of my slides. And thank you very much. If anybody has questions.
Well, hello, Adel. That was fantastic. I want to thank you for that. We have one question. Freekeh, you mentioned that with the mallow, served with the mallow. For our audience isn't familiar with freekeh, could you tell us about what freekeh is?
Oh yes, so freekeh is like a wheat. It's the wheat. It's the same as wheat. It's the only difference is the wheat, which everybody knows, is when it's dry. You know the wheat plant. So when it's very dry, they take the seeds and they grind it into flour. But the only thing here in Palestine, sometimes some people they pick it before while it's still green. You see the difference? It's not yellow dry yet. It's still green and crispy and watery. And when they pick it while it is still green and then they dry it, it becomes similar to but it's still green. So that's freekeh. And I think it's healthier because it's still not very starchy at that stage. So yeah that's the freekeh.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a little bit sweeter and still has it's in that milking stage when they're pulling it. Yeah. And for folks in the U.S., when you're talking about sumac, when you were here in the U.S. on the East Coast, did you happen to see a lot of that sumac?
I don't remember, but the East Coast is different from our. So if I were in the West Coast, I'm sure I would have seen more similar plants to our region.
Well, I tell you,
yes, but in the East Coast, I don't know. Do you think? I think.
Right here in Old Decorah, Iowa, Adel, we have tons of sumac all over the place.
Sorry about that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in in Baltimore where I was. I didn't see lots of sumac. Or maybe I saw it, but I didn't notice. But at least I didn't see it like the locals. They didn't cook it, or they didn't use. I didn't see it in recipes. But here in Palestine, like if you go to any restaurant, you can find it very easily. They sprinkled. But in the United States, at least I didn't see it yet in any recipes used.
Yeah,
As far as
you don't see it around in restaurants unless you're at a Middle Eastern restaurant. Of course, my wife that is also from Palestine. We do a lot of Arab cooking, so I am out collecting sumac all the time to add to our dishes here. So we have the availability here. Now, I will say, just a tidbit, in Appalachia, you'll see it used where they steep it in water, and it's kind of like their lemonade. So,
oh wow! So we're learning something. Yeah, that's interesting. I would probably try it. We don't use it in this way here. So cultural exchange, that's good to know.
and
You don't
we also have someone here that's Aquilta is saying that Native Americans that they also use sumac as a spice. So
yeah, that's how we use it as a spice. But I think it's a good idea because it's very lemony. It can be used probably, as you said, as a juice or as a because it's very sour. Maybe with honey, it could be very.
And then Diane here is saying that different species of sumac do have some different flavors, and I believe we have a winged sumac here that has some similar but different flavors. At least that's what I'm aware of. But yeah. Well, I tell you, Adel, I really can't thank you enough for making all the effort to bring your presentation over here to our audience in the U.S. Yeah, it was just lovely. It's really nice to see how other cultures and regions use the resources that they have around them and how those end up on plates.
Yeah, and you can share the PDF file with the recipes with the audience if anybody's interested. I just tried as much. It's difficult to write recipes from here and there, but I had 4: za'atar and Hedge mustard and Malva. So the very simple recipes, I had them in a PDF file. If somebody's interested.
Absolutely, yes, we can definitely get those on to others. So, well, again, Adel, thank you so much for your time and your presentation, and yeah, look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much for hearing me and for your interest in this presentation, and looking forward to talk again and communicate as well.
Absolutely. I'll be in touch with you soon, Adel.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.